Hi everyone, I hope you've had a great week of learning, whether you've been in school or whether you haven't been in school. I hope it's all gone well for you. So I'm excited to tell you about next week's pack, English in particular. So English next week is based on one of my favourite video clips to write about, okay? And it's called Pigeon Impossible. And I'm not going to give too much away, but it's all about a secret agent called Walter and a pigeon that is doing everything it can to ruin the secret agent's mission, okay? So the same as last week, the activities that we are doing in school are highlighted in yellow. Now the English sessions for next week are all based on this video clip, but they are separate lessons, so it won't matter that we're doing task 1 and task 2 in school. It doesn't matter if you start at task 3, okay, even though they're based on the same video. So there are some lovely activities to do with that, all about thinking about yourself as the pigeon, how the pigeon might have been feeling at different points, and there's also and that's for 2 days, that activity, and there's also an activity where you have to create a wanted poster for the secret agent. In maths this week we are moving on to measuring mass. Now mass is the amount of matter an object has. The more matter an object has, the more it weighs, okay? Now to weigh an object's mass, we usually use scales. And same as when you're using clocks, there are different types of scales, okay? So you can get some digital scales. Like I have some digital scales to use when I'm cooking and weighing out my ingredients. And you can also get analog scales, okay? And I've drawn an analog scale here. It's not as accurate as it could be, but there we go. So this is my analog scale, okay? Now, some analog scales are very easy to read because you put your object in the top to weigh, and it will point to a number, and that will tell you how much your object weighs, what the mass of the object is, okay? And it will tell you either in grams or kilograms, which is usually what we weigh mass in. So you can see from my set of scales here that my scales are in kilograms. Now kilograms are bigger than grams, and there are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram, so they're quite a bit bigger. Okay, now the problem with my scale is that not all of the numbers are there, okay? So we have some gaps that we need to work out, and sometimes with real scales you might have this as well. So you need to work out what the missing numbers are, okay? Now I'm going to show you how to do that. And we call these little lines in between intervals. So we need to work out what the intervals represent on this scale. So as you can see, whatever it is that's being weighed on my scale falls between 0 kilograms and 4 kilograms, okay? So I'm going to start by drawing a number line. And at the start of my number line is going to be 0 kilograms. And at the end of my number line is going to be 4 kilograms, because that's what my mass is in between, okay? Now we need to count how many intervals are in between those amounts, so the amounts that we know. So if I count from 0, there are 1, 2 intervals in between, okay? So there are 2 intervals. Now let's work out how big the gap is. So the gap between the difference between 0 and 4 is 4 kilograms. So to work out what each interval is worth, we can do 4 divided by 2, okay? Because it's 4 kilograms and there are 2 intervals in between, okay? So 4 divided by 2 is obviously 2. So this means that each smaller interval is worth 2 kilograms, okay? So it goes 0, 2, 4. And I can draw this into my number line like this, okay? So now I know that each interval is worth 2, so this object must weigh 2 kilograms, okay? So hopefully that will help you when you're doing your work on maths this week. Remember to draw a number line, put each known weight either side, and then work out how many intervals there are in between and divide the distance in kilograms or grams. Divide that by how many intervals there are, and you will know how you'll know what your intervals go up in. Towards the end of the week, there are also 2 lessons which we're planning on doing in school, which is just revising fractions of amounts. Okay, so that's something that we covered right at the start of lockdown. So we just wanted to revise it just to make sure that you're feeling fairly confident with that. Okay, on to the foundation subjects. So for PE this week, we are asking you to try and come up with a socially distanced game that you can play at playtime. So if you are coming into school at any point before the end of term, maybe that's something that you can put into practice. And if you're not coming into school, maybe it's something that you could play with your family, or if you see any friends or anyone outside of school. So that's for PE this week. Your art for this week is to watch an episode of Olaf Falafel's Art Club on YouTube. Now, I've watched one myself and I think he's absolutely brilliant. And this one was from sometime last week, I think. So you may well have already seen it, but if you haven't, do give that a watch. And we're asking you to try and recreate a piece of art that he demonstrates on his video. There is also a computing lesson going back to scratch, so we're asking you to have a go at making your own chase game, and there's a tutorial to watch to help you learn how to do that. And you might want to, you're much better at these things than I am, so you might want to add some things into yours, make it more exciting, a bit more complicated. But if you don't want to do that, and you just want to have a go at the instructions that are on there, that's absolutely fine too. What else have we got? We've also got a PSHE lesson, and we just want you to reflect a little bit on some of the things that perhaps you've enjoyed doing. So think about, although it's been a really tricky time since school's been closed, some of the positive things that have come out of that. So my example would be that I've had more time to cook different meals and try different recipes, where before, by the time I got home from school, I just wanted something quick. So I've actually had time to try some new things. So now I've got new things that I like to cook more regularly. And it would also be that I have spent some more time building up my fitness and running. So just trying to think of some positive things that have come out of lockdown for you. And then after that, there's an activity for you to think about the things that make you amazing. Now, I personally find it really tricky to think of nice things about myself sometimes, and you might find that too. And if you do, it's okay to ask the people around you if they can think of some things that make you amazing, okay? And there's a really lovely sheet for you to fill out there. So do use other people if you're finding it a bit tricky to think of things. And finally, for this week, there is a geography lesson continuing thinking about coasts. And we're particularly thinking about using language to describe different beaches and seaside scenes, okay? So we're thinking about things such as tides, and how sometimes you can go to a beach at a certain time of day and the sea will look like it's really, really, really far away. And then other times you can go to the seaside at a different time of day and the water might be really close, okay? It might even, at some beaches, be all the way up so you can't see any more sand anymore. So you're going to be given pictures of the same seasides or the same beaches, and you're going to use some of the vocabulary you've learned about, which you're going to learn about, to describe the differences and the similarities between the two pictures. Okay, so this is, we're nearly there, we're nearly at the final week of learning, so keep going, keep pushing on, keep working hard, keep sending me examples of your work because I really love to see it, and I will speak to you very soon. Bye-bye.